Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carrie. I've spent a lot of time lately talking about meeting people in the wild. Actually, one of my friends was talking about her son dating, and she said, I think he met her in the wild. And I've realized how I've infected everyone around me with meeting in person or meeting out in the world with the phrase meeting in the wild. And it makes me happy because that's where I want people meeting. We can't all be on the apps all the time. We need variety. Also, there are two reasons for the fact this has been a part of the conversation lately. One is I created a guide to help you learn all the best practices for meeting people in person. And secondly, personally, I believe meeting people in person is so much more exciting than meeting them on a dating app. Some of you are going to agree and some of you not so much, but that's my personal opinion. You may argue that you do meet this person in person once you've connected on the apps. And that's certainly true, but I think that there's something, more magical about connecting in the wild than with the dating apps. The surprise of initial attraction, then an approach and a conversation that goes really well. But if you saw my episode recently sharing mid-year dating trends for 2024, number one was about dating online and how it's still the primary way that people are meeting their potential matches. So let's talk about that. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 fantastic tips for success. These are not mine. These come from couples who've met their partner on the dating apps or through an online dating site. And I thought it would be interesting to hear from people other than me to see if they agree with what I've been sharing with you lately, or if they have something different or new to advise. If that's at all interesting, I hope you'll stick around because that's what's on the agenda. Number one is that people who experience success with online dating are looking well beyond their own front door and often way outside their own neighborhood, actually. They're not limiting themselves to that 5 or 10 or even 40-mile radius. I know. They're open to exploring people that they wouldn't meet in their neighborhood or bump into at their local CVS. Singles not going to be getting their groove on in the little tavern where you sometimes go to hear live music with a friend. They may be a little further away, and we have to face that fact and make that a possibility for us to bump into them. I'm not encouraging you to set out looking for a long-distance relationship. That has its own set of challenges that I wouldn't recommend until you have exhausted all possibilities within a reasonable distance from your own area. Might be something to consider down the road, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm saying maybe don't be a little baby about having to drive an hour. I know some of you are going to be annoyed with me for that because you're yelling at me. An hour, you're running to the comment section right now to tell me that there isn't anybody within 3 hours of where you live. And I know, I understand. But sadly, if you live very remotely, that's an issue that we're not probably going to be able to resolve in this episode. And I'm not talking to you with this number one suggestion here. I'm saying successful daters have said, be conscientious about how you set your distance parameters on the dating apps, because opening that up a little bit can pay off big time and really change the outcome. Number 2, successful daters said that one of the keys to their success was that they had realistic expectations. Where have we heard this before? When you're just looking at somebody's photo and getting a very tiny, tiny glimpse into their life, reading what they're choosing to share about themselves, which may or may not be true, may or may not be embellished, and then talking to them just briefly through, hopefully, a video conversation. But for a lot of people, just a phone call. It's easy to let your imagination go wild. And I'm certainly all about a positive attitude and feeling gratitude. Maybe that you've connected with somebody that feels so cool. Wow, this is happening. Awesome. Potential is, so exciting. But there's also something people do, which is taking hope even further. And I would consider that above and beyond hoping for things to go well. And it's about creating unrealistic expectation. I just want to mention something that happens all the time to people where they see 3 photos of someone on their dating profile. The first one is super cute. One is really kind of hard to figure out what this person looks like. And one, if it had been the primary picture, they would have never swiped right to begin with. So what most people do is they ignore the other 2 that don't excite them, focus on the cute one, And then from that point, start imagining somebody that looks like that primary photo, probably even better. Do you want to guess who shows up for the date? Why use your imagination when all you really have to do is wait to meet this person within a week? Within a week, right? Better to leave fantasy behind and meet this person for who they are. Then you won't be disappointed. You may even be pleasantly surprised. Number 3, many of these daters said that they didn't even have expectations around where this relationship would lead, which is also something to keep in mind. You may be looking for a husband or a wife, but if you're closing the door on finding your next best friend or someone who also enjoys baseball games in the summer and would love to accompany you whenever there's a home game, you'd be missing out on something positive in this person that could be enjoyable for you. And it also goes the other way. Some people are looking for something very casual and have been surprised when they end up in a long-term relationship with somebody who sometimes wasn't even their type to begin with. I see this so often. It's why I talk about that so often. Number 4 is that these daters shared that they were not putting all of their eggs in one basket and not being hyper-focused on the dating app itself. With the addictive nature of dating apps, this makes total sense to me. You don't want to become attached to that dopamine hit that we get, not just from getting a message, but also just logging in and seeing the options available to us. You know, you can imagine how it feels when you're surprised from seeing an unread message or two in your inbox, or the positivity and expectations when somebody's responded to our last reply. It's just better to not be checking them numerous times a day. I always tell my clients to make 2 or 3 times a week that they log into their dating apps to do what I call housework. That's responding to inbox messages and taking a little time to browse through some profiles and send some messages of your own. With my big push towards meeting people in the wild, I believe that many of these people were using other means of meeting people besides just the dating apps, which helps you to not put too much emphasis on the app or the 2 apps that you're using and not be your sole source of meeting potential partners. That is how these people met, but it's not the only way they were putting themselves out there in front of other people and looking to connect with others. Number 5, they said kindness in character, not a phrase I use, mattered most, and that they really tried to be open-minded, leave their type and their preferences around looks behind, and pick somebody who sounded interesting to them. Some of you are looking for that little X to leave right now. Leave the episode. I see you. If you're looking to move on from this episode, you're really missing an important piece of information. These are people who found a long-term partner by trying something different. You don't have to continue doing something that isn't working for you for the long term. But these people and I are just suggesting you give something else a try. And yeah, I get it. This might make you uncomfortable being outside your comfort zone, I guess, right? But that doesn't mean it's not worth it. It's worth a try. I hope you found this helpful or interesting. You might want to check out this next episode here. And also, please give Mom a thumbs up that she's kindly requesting and hit the subscribe button before you go. I always appreciate that, and I'll look forward to seeing you back here again soon. Until then, thank you and have a good one.